New Aphotic Realm announcement. Submission windows for upcoming issues. Issue 10, the theme is justice. That's hard-boiled fiction with a supernatural twist. The deadline for that will be April 1st, 2020. Issue 11, the theme is kaiju, giant monsters terrorizing civilization. Deadline will be October 1st, 2020 for those stories. Issue 12, the theme is lycanthropy, which is, of course, self-explanatory. It can be any type of animorph with a bloody twist. So I guess that's werewolves and Jesus, giant, I don't know. What do people turn into? Seals? I've just got a little seal on my desk, so I thought of that. I don't know. You'll have to be more imaginative than I just was. But the deadline for lycanthropy, January 1st, 2021. Good luck to everyone submitting.
This thing, I hope you like it. Let's talk about it, yeah. Let's lose track. Losing the plot podcast. Losing the plot podcast. Losing the plot podcast. Talking to Leo X.
My guest this episode is Luke Kondor. He is the director, writer, and lead actor and editor of the feature film Keith, about an app that he befriends, but that it starts to take over his life. The character Luke, named after Luke, the guy who made the film. He made it in a month, mostly by himself, without a script. Super impressive. Lots of stuff to talk about. I similarly made a feature film that takes place on a computer screen with like 6 or 7 other people as well. So it was interesting that we had like a similar impulse to make something like that, and it was great for us to learn from each other, and maybe you'll learn from it too if you're interested in that kind of thing. If you are a reader, writer, editor, some sort of creative who wants to be on the show, or if you want to tell me something about the show, you can always do so using losingtheplotpodcast@gmail.com, and I look forward to hearing from you. But that's all my intro chat. So here is my conversation with Luke Kondor.
Yeah, whereabouts are you from? Because you're not from Norway, are you, I imagine? Or...
No. I'm from Glasgow in Scotland, but I moved here almost 7 years ago. I've been working as an engineer here in Stavanger.
Okay.
And then, for like a number of years, I was just like, oh my God, there's nothing going on here. I can't make any friends. And then I realized like, I could make something happen here if I want. So I started the film club last year.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think I mean, most of my life I wanted to live in London. I'm from Mansfield, which is like a mining town in the middle of England, and I wanted to live in London, and then we did live in London for a couple of years, and it was I felt like I was going to start making contacts, and I was going to start, getting into filmmaking, or I don't know, some sort of inner circle of making stuff, but it didn't really happen. And I just found it really distracting, like just worrying about rent all the time, or worrying about trying to exist. So then we moved to Manchester, and then back here. I live in like Sherwood Forest now, and I find now I've got my garage, I've got space, and I can just like make a film in a month, or I can write a book or do some podcasting. I think you don't need to be in those sort of places where you think things should be, where things should happen, but it's not the case anymore. We live on the internet. Like the world is completely flat now.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And it's nice to be in a place that needs you as well. Like I imagine there's like, where there is less creative stuff going on, if you're a creative person, then great. A lot of people could benefit from that, rather than going like, I want to go to the already existing creative hub and make sure they accept me to legitimize the fact that I'm doing all of this stuff. Oh.
Yeah, I think it got to the point for me when I was living in London purely to say that I was living in London, and I was like, this is a terrible reason to live anywhere, just to say that you live there. I'm not happy. I'd
Mm.
rather go back and because we couldn't have a dog or anything. Now that we live here, I've I've got a lovely dog, and I go for long walks in the woods, and I don't know. This is ideal for me. I think just I haven't started a filmmaking community like you. I
Mm.
don't know if my neighbours will be up for it, but who knows? Maybe one day.
You never know. Like I say, I like Googled a few YouTube videos more than anyone else who showed up, and I just took it from there. So you never know. You might have some budding filmmakers living right
Maybe.
beside you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the population like in Stavanger?
Oh, good question. I don't know. Let me Google it. I
Is
actually
it?
don't
I
know.
don't know much about it. Is it a city or is it a town or?
It's a city.
Okay.
It's like the oil capital, which is why I'm here.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, 130,000.
Okay.
Oh, it's tiny. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize because there's Trondheim and Bergen. I always assumed they were smaller, but they're like way bigger. Interesting. How big is Oslo? Don't even need you anymore. Just to do my own research. 700,000 in Oslo. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Stavanger's tiny, teeny tiny.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I think there's about 1,000 people here at the most in the village where I live.
Okay.
But I mean, we're all alone now. We're all in lockdown.
Yeah. Fair. Is it? That's like small enough for everyone to know one another, right?
Yeah. I mean, on our street, I'm pretty sure everyone knows me as the weird guy who goes in his garage for hours, hours upon hours at a time. One of the guys across the street asked if I was hibernating, and I kind of squirreled away to the garage without answering him. Yes, it is. It is. It's a very local, like little place.
Mhm.
But yeah, Norway sounds good. I always wanted to go to Norway or any of the sort of more Scandinavian sort of places.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I mean, I like it here. I mean, like I went to a party recently where, um, several of the people had lived here before, and then they got homesick and went back to their home countries and started working there as adults, and then were like, nah, like the quality of life for work-life balance and so on.
Yeah,
It's a great place to raise kids, apparently. Um, yeah, so people really love it here for that. It's pretty chill.
yeah.
Um,
And is
yeah.
everyone working from home? Like, has the lockdown affected?
I'm supposed to be back in the office, like, or I'm allowed to go back to the office. Every
Yeah,
time I'm in one of these, our equivalent of Zoom call, half the people are still at home, and it's like
yeah,
it's so much more convenient for me just to stay here. So this is where I am. But the problem with Stavanger is that still, it was this fishing village before they discovered oil, and it still has like a fishing village mentality. It's
okay,
like
yeah,
very insular, and you only find out what's going on through word of mouth, which is all spoken in a weird Norwegian dialect that I don't
yeah.
speak. Um, so when it comes to my club, like almost everyone who shows up, they're all expats from different countries, which is
Yeah, I
fantastic.
noticed that in your film.
Mhm.
Um, I was fairly certain that they weren't all from Stavanger. Like, you had like an English guy, South African guy, I
French
don't know,
guy,
French. Yeah,
Indian woman, Norwegian woman, the guy who says who's half Dutch because he is. He's from England. Um, yeah, and the guy at the beginning who's from Mexico originally. Yeah, they're all from their original
yeah,
countries.
yeah.
Uh, but we're all just filming in Stavanger.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool though. It's cool that you got that together and made a feature film. How long have you been making films for?
It was like this time last year that I took my iPhone and
Yeah,
recorded myself. Um, so like a year. I've been writing for like 10 years though.
yeah,
So when it came to the film that I made, and probably the film that you made as well, the writing is the challenge because it's so constricted in terms of where you can be. All the
yeah,
narrative has to take place with everyone sitting in the same place. But then I felt like I had the writing skills to overcome that, whereas the
yeah,
filmmaking skills were just like it's much simpler to put together.
yeah. Wow, that's amazing that you made you've been making films for a year and you made a feature film. That's because a lot of the sort of the standard thinking is to make tons of short films. Well, I think that the standard thinking is you make a short film, and eventually you can use one of those short films to uh, like piggyback or something, or to make a feature film from that, or something. But
Mm.
yeah, I've been making films for about, I don't know, because I was making like YouTube sketches and stuff like 10 years ago. So I've always been doing video stuff, but then I always sort of felt like feature film was it's just unreasonable to make a feature film. Like without money, it's unreasonable. No one can make that much content. But then when you probably found a similar thing, is when you do it, it's like, oh, it's just a longer short film. Like it just takes longer to do. That's
Yeah,
all it is.
absolutely. I think that no, well, the thing is, like, you're right that basically, like, most creative people would take, like, I've been writing, like I say, for 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's 10 years of creative build up before I've actually made a feature film. It's just that I've never
Yeah.
actually done this before. But I feel like other people take longer to make a feature film because they have decided that they're filmmakers, and then they have to learn about writing alongside. And I feel like that part takes the longest. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, I I don't know when. I mean, this past decade's been pretty blurry now, but I remember 'cause I was trying to make short films, and I found that everyone else's short films were looking better and better and better. And it's only because they had more money and they could afford like really good cameras and
Mm.
editing equipment and stuff. So then I started just writing short stories and figured that like it's just going to come down to the way I tell stories. I'm just going to have to find my own unique voice and focus on writing, because I did sort of write novels and screenplays and stuff for a long time. And I think that is the hardest part for. I don't know why filmmakers don't write more. I thought everyone should write. Everyone should be testing out short stories just to find what it is that they like about, just to find their personal flavor of storytelling. Um, and everyone can do it. Everyone's got access to a piece of paper or like a Microsoft Word or something. But a
Mm.
lot of filmmakers, I don't know. I feel like they. We were doing some brainstorm, some film ideas recently. A lot of the other filmmakers that I was talking to in this Discord channel were filmmakers first and hadn't really written anything. And a lot of the ideas they were coming out with just felt very. Have you read Stephen King's Lucy story? In Lisa's story, Stephen King talks about Booyah Moon, which is like a place where creative people, when they go to sleep, they go to this magical land, and there's a big lake in Booyah Moon. And then initially you go quite shallow and you pick up like these fish that are quite easy to catch. And these fish are the ideas for stories. But as you sort of get more confident in your storytelling, you want to go deeper and deeper and try and get the big fish. And I feel like that comes with time. Like you get a lot of your sort of you catch a lot of your smaller fish earlier on in your writing or storytelling life, and then eventually you sort of you're not bothered about catching all of the easy stuff. You sort of want to go and find the really unique, large, giant whales that only you can write or only you can make.
Mm.
So I'm not interested anymore in writing or making films that anyone else could make. I'm just very focused on. I think everyone should be very focused on their unique perspective, their unique voice. I think it's important, and yeah, I think like writing, like you used to been writing for 10 years. I feel that's putting more work towards developing that voice than someone who's been making music videos for 10 years. Although maybe I don't know. That's just the way I kind of think about it. But maybe I'm talking bullshit. I don't know.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying, and I was going to say that I would recommend the way I've done it, but everyone does it differently, and it just
Yeah.
really depends. But definitely, when it comes to filmmaking, I do think. I mean, I don't advise people anything when it comes to writing, but when it comes to filmmaking, like you say, write more first. Because I was watching this interview with a guy who said like he'd been given 50 grand to make his first feature film,
Mhm.
and like when he wrote it and like directed it, blah blah blah. When it came to the editing, he realized like the first half hour wasn't needed because he was learning about story structure, and
Yeah.
that the story would start for the first half an hour. I was like, okay, say that was like a 2 hour film cut down to 90 minutes. Is that not like 10 grand wasted or more?
Yeah, it's ludicrous, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
filmmaking is such an expensive. Well, traditionally, it's a really expensive medium. I think we've trying to find ways around that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. Did they work from a screenplay? Do you know, or did the director write the screenplay as well? Or
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
yeah, who knows as well? I mean, with filmmaking as well, John Carpenter said it's like painting. like you put something on the canvas, and then you like start with an outline, and then some bit doesn't quite work. You thought it in your head, but it doesn't. Now you've got it on, and so you start highlighting bits or erasing bits or like painting over certain bits until it starts to look like something that you're really happy with, or is the finished film. So filmmaking is weird because I do kind of feel like sometimes you think something's going to work and you put it on the timeline and it doesn't quite. Something about it doesn't feel right. So you just have to keep working over it, find different music, find different cuts or effects or whatever, just to make it work for you. I mean, how did you? I'd be very interested to know that your technical process. Like, how did you edit the film, and how did you? Because it's quite a unique way of working, I think.
I used DaVinci Resolve.
Oh, of course, yeah, it's free now. Yeah.
Though I ended up buying the paid version so that I could denoise the images, because that made it look way better. But yeah, so what did I do? I used I've got this microphone. This is the Yeti stereo.
Yeti. I've got the same one. Yeah, not here. Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So use that. It was like a Discord call with each of the people. I like maximized them on my screen, and then I recorded it with OBS.
Yeah.
And I recorded like individual feeds of me saying every other line, and them just saying their bits.
Yeah. I didn't think about OBS, but I bet loads of people are using that for making screen capturing now. Yeah.
That's probably like, people making loads of money on Twitch. They must use that, whatever. So recorded it individually with everyone, and then cut it all together as if they were talking to one another. And I love that. I mean, I didn't know that was going to work until I put it together. And actually, I didn't even know how to do that in DaVinci until I realized you get 6 video channels and you just squish and put this one there and that one there, so on, and it works. Like I think what you're getting is as well is that it's purely intuitive. I don't know where it comes from, and I'm writing a new thing now, and only today I worked out what one of the characters' motivations were.
Yeah.
And then like the whole thing clicked for me. I don't know why I knew that it would click after I figured that. I don't know where any of it's coming from,
Robert Rodriguez, he's he's a big time filmmaker now, but he started as like an indie filmmaker. He said like when you go to any sort of creative endeavor, like they say knowing is half the battle, but he thinks the other half is more important, like not knowing and like having faith that you'll start this thing and it will come to you. You will find that other half as you're making it. I mean, it's a good way to just you just have to get started with these things, don't you? You can't, even when you're writing a novel. I think some people maybe want to plan stuff out. I think I've seen people plan the paragraphs out, so they sort of have a line per paragraph with what they're going to write. And I kind of feel like you just got to write. You just got to start writing at some point, and you'll find it out. You'll find out what the end product is as you're doing it, really.
Yeah. I mean, I would say to anyone, like, filmmaking is way less scary than I thought it was going to be, because I think that what we the most, like, the stories about them traditionally are the most sensational ones, about like directors yelling at people on set and running out of money and missing the perfect shot and so on. Was really like Robert Rodriguez is a great example, because I watched a little making of thing on the mariachi. And he was like, he's like, just get all the bits, it will be fine. You'll find you can work with whatever you end up with.
You can creatively edit around most things.
Absolutely.
His book Rebel Without a Crew is one that I'd recommend to anyone making stuff. It is fantastic. It's one of the only books I've bought as a gift for other people, because I want other people to read it as well. It's just like a diary of him, a diary he kept. It's like 50% of it is a diary he kept whilst making his $7,000 feature film that sort of made him who he is. The other half is like I don't know, like 10-minute film scores and stuff. But for that first half in particular, it's so inspirational and so, I don't know, it just really grounds it. There's nothing that special about it. It is just hard work. It is just work. So you just either do it or don't. Same with writing. You're either going to write or you're not going to write. You just have to do it.
And when it comes to the $7,000, that's like film stock mostly.
You
don't even need to buy anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're it's a double-edged sword because we're in a lucky time. Like, we can use our phones or our computer screens or our webcams as cameras, but like so can everyone. So there's so much
Yeah.
content out there now,
Yeah.
which just means you just need to be more unique, I guess.
Hmm.
Who knows? Yeah.
No, like you say, I mean, I think that the biggest fault of most things is like unoriginal or bad ideas. It's not who has the best camera.
Yeah.
It's just people who've thought it out the least.
Yeah. Easy ideas. I think if something's too easy, I think we've not spent enough time working out a unique way of doing this.
Mhm.
Which, I mean, there was a time maybe 4 or 5 years ago where I was coming up with an idea, like a story idea a day, and I did it for a year, and I kept like a Google Doc, and I was just pounding out these like story ideas. And in a way, you could have turned any of those ideas. Not all of them were good, but you could turn any of those ideas into a novel or a screenplay or something. But it's like 3 or 4 out of those 365 ideas that have stuck with me to the point where those are genuinely good ideas, like, or good to me. Those are generally ideas that I would still want to do something with eventually.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you can do anything with any idea, but I do think you've got to find the ones that really resonate with some, I don't know, some part of your soul. Like, you have to, that idea is you, and you have to do something with that idea at some point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Keith must have been one of the biggest ideas then.
So Keith, is like 5 years ago, I was trying to get funding for a short film through like the BFI. England has all these funding schemes, but I couldn't. Like 2 years of trying to get funding, never got past the first round. I was, I don't know, not from the right area, not from the right. I don't know. I just, for whatever reason, wasn't. Or I didn't have the right story. In fact, I'm pretty sure some of those earlier projects that I was trying to get funding for were not good. So it's probably a good thing that they didn't give me money. But I got really annoyed, and I was living in London at the time in my flat, and I was like, okay, you're not going to give me any money. I don't need any money. I'm going to make a film in a week with no camera, no money, no nothing. And I made a short film called Keith, which kind of went, I say, semi-viral. It got a Vimeo staff pick, and it was on Gizmodo and stuff, and it got like 50,000 downloads. And that, for me at the time,
Wow.
that was big.
Yeah, that's still huge. Yeah.
Um, so it did really well. It played at film festivals. It won the best low budget short film at the London Short Film Festival. And it got me a few meetings. And I was like, at that point, I was like, I've proved that I can do this with nothing. Now give me money to make this into a feature or to do something bigger with this. And I had a few meetings with people, but again, they were like, well, you've got no track record of making feature films. I was like, oh, well, I can't make it out of nothing. So then it just kind of dried up. I was kind of annoyed for a bit, and I just thought, I'm just going to write books. I'm not going to bother with film. Obviously, the film industry doesn't want me, so I'm just going to write books and make comics and podcasts and stuff like that. And then I even tried to make it as a feature film. I wrote a script. This is 2 years ago. I wrote a script, had actors in place, but it was so big, and it would be like to do it justice would need like 100 grand or something to make it all work properly. And obviously I didn't have that money, so it never happened, and I just kind of gave up on it. But then a month or so ago, I had a Skype call with a friend, and he said, "Whatever happened to Keith?" And I was like, "It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's dead. It's completely dead." But just that conversation kind of had me opening up Premiere, and I just started to put things down and brainstorm ideas. And I was like, "Well, okay, let me just do a scene at a time. Let me not make a big production with loads of actors. What can I do today to make a scene?" And I did that scene, and then I started to brainstorm some more, did the second scene, and I was like, I'm just going to keep going just to see where this goes. And then a month later, I had a 67-minute feature film, which it's not a fantastic, it's not like an amazing film, but I'm pretty happy with. And no, the me of 5 years ago would not believe that I was able to do that, if that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, so that's sort of where Keith is now. At the minute, I'm doing some posts, looking at film festivals, wondering what's next. Yeah, I don't know. What about you? What about your film?
Um, I don't know. Well, I'm hoping a friend is going to send me a bit more music for it, and
Yeah,
then I'll investigate film festivals. But such a shame because like on Film Freeway, I think is the best resource for finding them, as far as I can tell.
yeah.
Um, so many interesting ones are their deadlines are closing and everything, and but there will always be more interesting ones later, right? There's no rush,
Yeah.
is there? I've never tried this
Well,
before. I've got no
um,
idea.
I think a lot of film festivals say it has to finish production within a 18-month period or something. So if you finish your film and then don't submit to festivals for 2 years, you're kind of out of luck, I think, for the most part.
Mhm.
So I think as long as you're submitting within 18 months or so of finishing your film, I
Mhm.
don't think there's any harm done.
Cool.
Yeah. Are you sort of releasing the film, or have you looked at that side of it? Are you putting it online anywhere or anything?
We did a screening at like a bar.
How was
Where
that?
we
Did you get
projected it
that
out.
nervous?
A little bit, yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, no, I did. I did. I was really nervous, and but no, it went great. Like people were laughing at the jokes. Um, nobody left,
that's good.
and like everyone applauded afterwards. Oh, it was weird. It's
Yeah.
weird to even think that happened, because like I say, this time last year I couldn't even look at my face on video. I was like, oh god damn
Okay.
it. As soon as I started this,
Yeah.
sorry, go for it. What do you want
Well,
to
I was
say?
going to say it's the same with like people don't want to hear their own voice, see their own face. At some point, you just realize this is my face, this is my voice. There's nothing I can do about it. So
Yeah. Well,
uh,
it's like a tool. If you're a writer, you would use a pencil. Like if you're a filmmaker, you got to use your own face. I don't know. I
yeah,
just think it's
yeah,
like a tool and
exactly, yeah,
thing. Um, and also that nobody's looking at me the way I'm looking at me either. Um, but and also something I think maybe we both did is like I preemptively made bald jokes to try and point out that I knew that about myself.
yeah. It's weird. So after some people saw the film, they said, "Are you okay with being bald? Like, is that an issue for you?" And so
Mhm.
I'm not bothered in the slightest. The only thing that bothers me is when people around me act as if I should be bothered about being bold. So like
Mm.
someone makes a bold joke, and then someone just glances at me, and I think, why? I'm fine. You don't have to check on me. I'm
Mm.
okay. I'm like
You
32-year-old man.
you get such a strong beard game though, so
Oh yeah. I've always liked beards. Um, I haven't been clean shaven for about 17 years. I can't eat. I've got baby skin underneath all this beard, so if I shave it, it kind of cuts it all up, sort of thing.
okay.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, like when I started this podcast as well, I was like, God, I've got to listen to my own voice. So I think like again, like maybe there's been a lot of things building up to me being able to make this film so quickly. It's like I got
yeah.
accustomed to my own voice. I got accustomed to
You've
my
been
own
writing,
face.
storytelling.
Yeah, writing. So it all
Yeah,
kind of I didn't know I was doing that. I just kind of thought I'd like to start a podcast because I have there's so many interesting conversations I have with people that like I wish more people could hear.
yeah,
Um, and I just felt like I just had this really strong feeling when I was having an interesting conversation. Like I wished like more people should hear this, more people should hear this. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know, but
well, it's good for
what I felt.
posterity anyway. Do you ever listen back to your own podcasts?
Yeah. I was just listening to one I had with Danger Slater because they're starting because they're released with
I
Aphotic Realm
listened to
now.
the last one. I listened to the Dangerous. Well, I listened a little bit, but I haven't seen Beach Bum, so I kind of ducked out whenever.
Ah,
I
okay.
kind of want to watch it at some point.
Oh, you absolutely should. It's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah,
But yeah, like listening back to that and going, oh wow, that was like, like such great insights and so on. Because I'd talked to him in like March. They get really delayed coming out with the Aphotic Realm.
yeah.
Um, and you're right, it's lovely. I would have forgotten half the things he'd said.
Did
Right.
you Danger's in Keith? Did you recognize his voice?
Oh wait, what is he? No.
Yeah, he's the very last tech support call.
No way.
I've always felt Danger has a really interesting voice. Danger's a great guy. Like, it- so I kind of only recently, in the last year or so, got involved in Bizarro, and he was like one of the most welcoming, open-armed people that I spoke to.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's a really great guy.
Yeah, he's lovely. So So but you made this film without a script. Did you know what the scenes were going to be, or?
Well, I had sort of a basic idea, and it's not like an intricate plot. Like it introduces the concept and just sort of follows it to its sort of logical conclusion. Um, but there's a point in the so my fiance Kat in the film is dead, and then in real life she's not dead. 18 months ago she was in hospital for 2 months, and there's a point in the film where it was actually just a journal entry. A big part of the film is the journal entries, and that's what I do every day. And for me, as I was looking for my journal entries and thinking how could this be more involved in the film, and I came across that point in my life, and I was like, this is what the story is. It's me sort of, because there was a point when I was convinced that she was going to die, and I was like, I'm still thinking about that, and I still need to work through that. So then that just became a key part of the film, and it made more sense by that point, because then I realized that's why in desktop horror films there's always the argument, why don't they just put the laptop away or put the technology away? But I needed a reason for Luke to not want to put the technology away, because Keith at this point is his only friend, or his only the only person he can communicate with, honestly. So yeah, once I found out that's the story, I kind of knew where it would go loosely, but I didn't script it. I would just say, okay, so today I need to do this scene. Here's 10 ideas for what could happen in this scene. I could do a joke about dogs shitting. I could do this other thing. I'd do the bit from RoboCop when he's sort of screwing the thing. And then I would just sort of narrow it down and then record a few bits, get them all into Premiere that same day, do a rough edit, and then just do the same every day. I just figured if I just do this every single day, it will get somewhere and something will come out of it. Yeah.
From beginning to end?
Pretty much, yeah. I think there was a couple of days when I didn't do any filming, and so in the film, for the audience, Keith is like an AI, and he starts off just talking in text, and that had to be done frame by frame animation. It's just text edit. It's just like a blank text document. But to make it work, I had to just cut the video frame by frame just to make it sort of look like a sort of AI is talking. And that took a long time. So there's some scenes where I was doing that for hours, just like cutting and trimming stuff, basically animating. And it's that was a long process. But most days I did do some filming, and by the end of it I was like, so the more emotional scenes at the end of the film, that's not me. I'm not able to be that way. I'm not an actor in any sense of the word, and I don't think this proves the opposite or anything. But I was kind of caught up in the story by that point. So I was like, okay, so I'm exhausted physically and mentally, and so is my character. So I was able to sort of put that into the story in some ways.
That's so cool. Why did you choose to use your own name?
Oh, it's just easier. I think when I was doing it last time, when I was trying to make the feature film last time, and I wrote the screenplay and everything, I invented people and invented all these characters, and I think I even started pre-production. I started to make all these Facebook accounts and all these various different accounts, and I was like, this is ludicrous, because I'm gonna have to invent so many people, so many social media accounts just to make this thing look right. Yeah. And when I did a short film, I just used myself. And also, I like when writers do that. I like Kurt Vonnegut appearing in Kurt Vonnegut stories. I like when Stephen King appears in The Dark Tower. So I was like, that'd just be one of those sort of weird, kind of little bizarro nods or something. I don't know, but it was mainly easier. And yeah, I think maybe at one point in time I would have been a bit more more shy about that kind of thing, but I don't care anymore. I don't care. I grieve I've got my journal entries on the screen. I've got me well, I don't want to spoil anything in case people do watch the film, but yeah, it's all on the screen there. That is who I am.
Where does that come from? That confidence to put yourself out there?
I think it's the only way I know how to do it now. I think because when I write books and stuff, it always comes out. I find I can only do it if there's some real personal wound or something that I'm trying to, because that's what I find interesting. It's like um, I can't just write about made up, completely fictional stuff. I'm not the best writer in that sense. But if there's a personal element, there's a personal wound that I'm trying to get over or explore, or if I'm trying to work out why does my mind do that? Why does that make me so sad? Or why does I don't know, why is my relationship with my parents that the way it is or anything? So those are the things that always come out in the stuff I make, because that's what I find interesting, and that's I don't think I can do it any other way. I think I've tried, and I'm just never that impressed with the end result. So this is just a way that I can be happy with the end result, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's yeah, I mean, like the thing I've said about my own club and everything, is I feel like it's like you, I think that whatever I do, it has to feel like something only I can do.
Yeah.
And people here are very much, there's very kind of competitive, like middle class comparison game thing going on quite heavily in Stavanger. And so I just love the idea of like spending loads of my time and money in something that just wasn't going to yield any like any kind of material reward, right? Or you know, any kind of standard achievement or standard measure of success. I really like that about it.
There's something quite freeing about that. Just making something for the sake of making it and thinking this will be like a I don't know, piece of art. Like there's no monetary financial gain or something. It's just making something for the sake of making it. Yeah.
Yeah. At its core, I mean, that's why we do it, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're all children who just never stopped doodling. Like I'm pretty sure we all just sort of making. And when did you start writing? You seem to be writing for 10 years, but I imagine you were making like doodling or coming up with ideas or something before that.
Yeah, I remember I used to stick post-its all over my school with like little random facts I found. And then I thought, I bet nobody else was doing that, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
Yeah.
What were the facts? What did you
like a snail.
Were they like riddles?
Like a snail like walks on its tongue. Or like is that right? Yeah, they do, don't they? The snail, like a snail walks on its tongue because like the snail's tongue is the thing that it's walking on, I think.
That sounds philosophical.
It's only the one I remember. What else was on there? Picking your nose and eating it is good for your immune system.
Interesting.
So I would just write these down and stick them all over the school. And then I figured, like, I guess that was like a creative impulse. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of guerrilla art projects, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about like people who I know so many like really talented people, like amazing illustrators and amazing comic book makers and filmmakers and stuff. And maybe 1% of them will make something that like really lands with the zeitgeist or blows up in somewhere or another. I think that's really tragic. Like so many amazingly talented people are probably just going to grow bored or disappointed. This is really depressing, but I don't know. I feel like you just have to come to terms with the fact that maybe your art will never be appreciated. Maybe your post-its will never get found, but you just got to still write. You got to still keep making them post-its and posting them around.
So I like that analogy. I think my goal was that I wanted them to bring it up at the morning assembly and tell me to stop. That's what I wanted them to do.
You didn't want them to go, some very clever guy posting post-its.
No, I wanted it to be annoying, I think. I also like would slip in fake essays in with my real essays, like in English class, because I remember I did one on like Heart of Darkness, and I said like my favorite.
How old were you when you did that?
I was like 15. I said like
wow.
I was like, I really love playing Heart of Darkness top trumps, but my friend has the Colonel Kurtz card, and like nothing can beat a darkness rating of 50. It's really annoying. It was just like a bunch of random crap that I made up.
Wow, I'd like to play a Heart of Darkness card game. That'd be great.
It'd be more exciting than reading the book. Jesus, it's so boring.
Yeah, it's been quite short as well, isn't it? I think it's like a 80-pager or something.
You wouldn't think so.
Yeah, yeah, very dense
What,
pages.
what were you doing growing up then? Do you have similar?
Yeah, I was, I think I was trying to. I always thought I'd be in comics. I think I was making like drawing. I'm a terrible artist, but I was making my own X-Men rip-off comics called Foxmen, and there was a guy called Professor Fox.
Sounds great.
No, no. I think I was always making stuff, and then at some point we got a camera, started making like our own Jackass videos. I'm sure everyone did that at some point. I think is oh yeah, no, what it was, what I think I really started to get into making stuff was when I got a guitar when I was like 14. Started like playing in bands and doing all that stuff for a long time. And then from there, when our band broke up, I got into student radio, and then from there I started making comedy sketches, like audio sketches, and that became a podcast. And then from there I was like, I better start writing screenplays because I want to start doing YouTube videos, which became short films, which became short stories, and then it's just kind of, that's, I don't know, I guess that's the path of someone who's wasted a lot of time. So many hours. Yeah. Yeah, I love it though. I don't, if I'm, unless I'm really making something, like working on a film, like the films, it gets me up in the morning and it keeps me working till like late in the evening because it's just so exciting, especially when you're not too sure if you can quite pull it off. Like that's an exciting point. I'm not too sure if this novel is going to work, but that's the exciting. If you know, if you've done it before or you know it's definitely going to work, I don't think it's quite excites me as much. I was learning about like game dev this year, doing like game development stuff, and that's always seemed like a dark art to me. But now I sort of made a few games, and there are times when I just spent about, I don't know, 20 hours in single sessions just trying to work out how to program these weird little games that no one's going to play. But that's not really what interests me. It's more about figuring out the magic or figuring out how it works and putting a bit of a stamp on it.
Mm. I totally agree. I think that if you know you can do it, there's no why would you do it? Definitely, like when it came to this film, we brainstormed some ideas over some weeks, I think, until we said like it will be a conspiracy live stream, and everyone has a different end of the world theory, and I think some of them chose theirs. I think that's all they had, and then I decided like one of them will be true, and like because I think that will give the whole thing structure. It would be like not very fun to hear a whole bunch of just lies for no reason, and it turns out none of them are true. So one of them has to be true, and it has to involve like. So Fernando at the beginning didn't want to have a big part. Now they did a Kanksha, who was the Indian doctor lady. So I had those kind of constraints to begin with, and then I was like, right, guys, give me some time to do it, and then I'll get back to you when I've got a script. And then as soon as I hung up, I was like, I don't think I can do that.
Yeah. At some point in the project, there's like a turning point where you start to feel like, oh, hang on, I'm getting away with this. I'm making something's happening here. That's quite an exciting point.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like? Did you ever sort of have any moments of crisis when you were like, "This isn't going to work. I need to."
There were a few times when I think like I recorded all of the footage with everyone over a number of weeks, and that was pretty simple because we all had the script. They all knew what to say. I knew what I wanted. But then when I was done with everyone, I was like, right, I've just got to piece it together, guys. And I was like, I don't know what it's going to look like when I do that. I don't know if it will look convincing that they're talking to one another. I don't know how to get them all on screen. But would you start a project like that if you had all the answers? It would be too overwhelming. You're like, I'm not going to begin until I know all these things.
Yeah,
I don't work that way.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you knew how much work was going to go into it, you'd probably be put off about stuff. Like when I sort of write books and stuff, like I always feel like I'm going to just do like a short like a short, easy to write, simple novella. Do it in a couple of weeks, or 3 weeks or so. Won't take much editing, but then they take months every single time. Like it's just this 20,000 word book, and I don't know. It's taken, I don't know, 6 months. It didn't take long to do the first draft, but then when the editing comes in, the new ideas and rewrites and stuff, um, everything takes a lot longer than you think it will. But yeah, it's quite nice. I feel quite sad when things are completely done. Maybe so I don't want to give them up. Just sort of want to live in that world for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all go back and forth, right? Sometimes I'm just like, God, I can't wait until this thing is finished. And then when it's done, you're like, oh, I missed working on that. It gave me purpose. Like,
Yeah,
what
exactly.
did I do now?
Yeah. After things are done, I tend to get a little bit depressed. Just get really down, sort of bum around the house. And I think it's because I don't feel like I'm being productive, or I don't feel like I'm living the life that I should be living. There's no excuse. I've got all of the equipment I need to make stuff. So if I'm not making stuff, I feel like I'm kind of wasting time. So when I do find that project that I can really sink my teeth into, and I spend hours and hours on it, that's when I feel like I'm living my purpose. That's like such a dumb thing to say, but I used to say my dad's purpose is working on his bicycles. He's got like 10 bikes. He just spends hours and hours in the garage working on his bikes. I spend hours and hours in the garage working on my films.
Yeah.
Like it's the same sort of part of us that sort of draws us to these projects. I don't know. I kind of wish that I just could be sated, just chilling out, watching TV programs, but I just get frustrated. Just feel like I'm wasting my life.
But I mean, it's like an incentive to learn a lot of stuff that you're interested in as well, right? Like not just about filmmaking, but like other topics. Like you must have had to read a bit about AI and so on. How people use social media, or
I think I made a conscious decision. I think it might have been the start of this year, maybe the year before. Actually, I think it was when I started doing this job I do now, which is a lot more technically in depth than I've ever done before. It's a type of IT support, but it's for broadcast, film, and TV companies, a lot of post-production houses and that kind of thing. And it was so in depth, and I was like, I don't know if I'm smart enough to do all this. So I made a conscious effort to really like study every single day, just like 20 minutes of study. And at some point it starts to sink in, and you start to figure it out. And I think I'm really enjoying that learning process now. I'm really enjoying like consciously not just sitting in a classroom and like I did at university thinking about other things, but sitting down and being genuinely curious about like the learning process or learning new stuff. In terms of AI and stuff, I don't know if that was too much the point of Keith. I think Keith was more of a metaphorical allegory or something about loss or grief or something than it was about AI. But I don't know. Maybe there's a bit of that in there. But what's next for you? Do you know when's the film number two going to come out?
Sam, who played Bob 1, he has his mom has an art studio, and so I'm going to write a horror script that's like for both of us, that takes place in this art studio, and like I've kidnapped him, and I'm an artist, and I want to paint him. So that's like that's the premise. And I've got like you say, I've just been doing notes, reading, because I'm avoiding the idea that like, oh my God, I have to write a whole feature film with just 2 people in it. That's what I want to do.
That sounds hard.
Yeah.
It's like your other film. I mentioned to you that it's like a play, that single room sort of situation. I find that so difficult. Because you can't just introduce. Well, you did find a way to do it, but I just mean you can't introduce ludicrous like elements that sort of change the format of story. But you do have that. Maybe I'm just thinking too limited. I think about what that kind of film is. I guess I don't know. Maybe that's my next project, to try and do a single room film, because I don't know if I can do it.
I love the constraint. Like I love just watching those films and everything. I just think it's great. Every time I'm like, oh, single room film, I need to watch that. And I think you're right. I think it's mostly plays, right? Because you've got this one room. So I've been watching a lot of like films that were plays first. That's mostly the origin
Okay.
of single
Yeah.
room films. So yeah, because like the one I was thinking of mostly is the Sunset Limited. Don't know if you know it.
I think so.
Tommy Lee Jones directed it, and he's in it with Samuel L. Jackson. It's just the two of them, and it's a Cormac McCarthy play that they turned into
Okay.
film.
Yeah.
And so they're just sitting at a table talking for like an hour and a half. But like I'm not Cormac McCarthy, and I can't take on like life and death and like religion and shit. So, but I'm just going to do my own version of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoy that. But I love like the less you can involve money, the more creative you have to be, and that's the rewarding thing for me. And also, like if I'm not accepting anyone's money, nobody can tell me what to do.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was sending Keith around this new version to a few of the places who I'd had meetings with when I made the short. There's a company
Oh,
called
cool. Good idea.
Basilevs who made Unfriended and Searching. And I was like, look at this
Nice.
thing that I've made. And part of me is like a bit like, okay, so what if they come back now and say, we want you to do a new film or something for, I don't know, I had no idea about budgets, £100,000 or dollars or whatever. I don't know if I would. I think I'd maybe more curious about doing like a much smaller £10,000 thing or something even smaller than that. 'Cause I enjoyed the fact that I wasn't trying to please. I think if I'm trying to please people, I lose some of that voice. But like in a no budget film, that impulse isn't there. Like you can just do whatever the hell you want, and it doesn't matter. Like you're not costing someone else hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Yeah, there's no pressure. I think like if either of us ever turned this into career, if that is the goal or not, I don't know. But if we did, I think we'd suddenly realize many like how good we had it in many ways now.
Yeah.
That would suddenly become apparent as soon as we didn't have them anymore. I can't talk for you, but I think that's what happened to me. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I always bring Robert Rodriguez up, but he talks about how once he started to do bigger things, he realized that he needed to work. He never wanted to have enough money, enough time, or enough resources. He always wanted to not have enough, and that always seemed to help him get into that creative, rebellious mindset. I guess that he has to try and make something out of nothing. So it's quite a cool place to be. Yeah, I think I don't know because with filmmaking, you often feel like you don't have what you need to make the thing that you want to make, but there's something quite empowering about just doing it anyway, just doing it on your own.
Well, the thing is, like, I follow like the Duplass brothers. You know
Oh
them? Yeah.
yeah. They have a famous talk, don't you? Like the cavalry isn't coming or something like that.
That's right, the South by Southwest
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
that he does, I think. But yeah, one of the things he says is like when they started, they were just filming their friends, and they couldn't wait to like stop doing that. And then they said, just don't expect that to end.
yeah,
I think what's always had the charm about those kind of films is the depth of the chemistry that the people have because they all know each other in real life. Which is why I think like the number one actor I want to work with in the world is like my friend Sam because we're really good friends and I know him well enough to write character for him.
yeah, yeah.
That's the joy of it for me is these connections.
Have you had so have you had people come to you to say, I'm going to make my own film now? Like just the fact that you've made a film has kind of given them permission to try themselves. Have you had that kind of thing?
Oh God, I hope so. I at the premiere, the one thing I said, the only thing I said when I stood up at the beginning was like, if you watch this and think I could do that, I agree. Go do it. And then I just sat down. It's like, yeah, great. I would love if I empowered people to do that. I don't know if that's happened yet. I think they all still feel like they need me, and that's nice.
Yeah.
Later they'll branch off, do their own thing.
Yeah. So you
What do
feel
you
like
think?
you're a well, I only say that is because my friend Ben, who I do podcasts and stuff with, like a couple of days after he saw I finished Keith, he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make a desktop horror film." It's not. I was like, "Okay, well, yeah, fine, that's cool, do it, man." Just know that it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
Do you like that?
what's that? inspiring,
yeah.
not inspiring people, but giving people permission, I guess. Yeah, I think it's cool. I always, because I've been podcasting for a long time, and I always thought everyone should start a podcast. Podcasts are, the cheapest, one of the cheapest mediums you can get into. You can find a decent audience with podcasts still, and I feel like everyone should do it. Like you're putting down, whether it's like a fiction podcast or an interview podcast like this one, or a conversation one, like you're putting down like a point of your opinion or your point in life where you can come back to that and you can check it out, and you can also build a bit of an audience. It doesn't cost you much of anything other than time. It introduces you to new contacts all the time, that you're networking across the world. I don't know, I feel like podcasts are just the most amazing medium. That I feel if people haven't got a podcast, and I know nowadays everyone's got a podcast, they don't start a podcast. That's what everyone says, but I still think it doesn't matter. That's not the point. Like it's not, you're not making a podcast just to sell advertisements or whatever, or make the number one on an iTunes chart or whatever. Like that's not the point of podcast. The point of podcast is that it's a personal growth thing. Like I think that's the biggest point about it, or the biggest benefit. Everyone should start a podcast. Everyone should make a film. Everyone should write stories. Everyone should journal. Everyone should feel like they can make games, or I don't know. I really don't want anyone to feel like how I felt a few years ago, that I'm too dumb, too like not creative enough. All these kind of things. I don't want anyone to feel like that. Everyone should be able to make everything and anything and feel good about what they're doing and inspired. And it's so if I'm doing anything, I'd be more than happy if someone sees that and goes, that's shit, I can do better than that. Cool. Cool, man. Yeah, go do it. That's awesome.
Oh, but I don't know if they're watching it and saying like that's shit. I think they're just saying like,
no, I think that's homemade, or that's DIY, so I can also be DIY. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I'll make sure you're kinder to yourself. But like I remember like last year I was following a bunch of YouTubers who have also made feature films, and I was like, oh my god, how cool would it be to be a person who's made a feature film? Now that I've made one, I feel exactly the same as I did before, and I was like, well, I guess nothing does it then. I'll just keep doing it for the sake of the process.
The process is the best part, really. But one thing I need to be more grateful about, milestones or achievements or something, because I do have a habit of just blowing through to the next project, and sort of not really thinking much about the stuff I've done in the past. I do think it's worth having some sort of for a podcast, if you get to 10 episodes, have a beer or like something, and just take a moment and like reflect and think, that's awesome that those episodes didn't exist before, now they do. Well done. Like it's really important to take those moments, I think.
That's really good advice. Is there anything else that we need to know about you? You do a ton of stuff. Like you say, you've got a podcast, you're writing. Do you have new releases out?
I have a book coming out. It was supposed to be August, but I think things have kind of, COVID has probably pushed it back a bit. It's coming out from Eraserhead Press. It's called His Dirty Little Portal. It's about a world where happiness doesn't exist. Similar sort of themes, I guess, to Keith. So I don't know when that's coming out. I hope it's this year, but who knows? I think the best thing to do is we also do a big podcast that we do as a group project. It's called The Other Stories, and it's a weekly short horror sci-fi thriller story. It's about 20 minutes long each episode. We've done it for about 4.5 years now. That's been in terms of audience and big things that I've done, that's been the most successful. We hit 6 million downloads like not too long ago, and that's not me. I mean, I'm just a very, very small part of that thing. But that's if you want to check out my stuff, I guess go to lukekondor.com. But go listen to the podcast, maybe buy a book. But yeah, I'd rather people just follow me on Twitter and just have a conversation about cool stuff, make stupid jokes.
Awesome. So lovely talking to you. So that was Luke. Make sure to check out his film when it's available. I guess follow his website or follow him on Twitter, send him some funny links and so on. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. And if I sent you there, tell him so, because that's always nice. If you are a creative of some sort who wants to be on the show, or if you just want to tell me something about it, you can always do so using losingtheplotpodcast@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. But that's all from me for this episode, so until next time, bye bye.